Okay, students, today we're going to learn some more about author's tone. Okay, so what is an author's tone? Tone indicates the writer's attitude. Often an author's tone is described by adjectives such as cynical, depressed, sympathetic, cheerful, outraged, positive, angry, sarcastic, prayerful, ironic, solemn, vindictive, intense, and excited. Tone is not an action, it is an attitude. Real life example. You can say the same phrase in different ways. You can say the same phrase in different ways, each showing a different attitude or tone. Try saying, "Come here, Sally," using the following tones: commanding or bossy, secretive, loving, angry, excited, playful. I'm going to do a few. I'm going to do, like if I were trying to be secretive, I might say, "Come here, Sally," and use it, say it quietly. If I'm really excited about something, I might say, "Come here, Sally." If I'm being bossy, I might go, "Come here, Sally." So those are just examples of tones, the way you're trying to say something using a different kind of tone. All right? Tone is not explained or expressed directly. A reader must read between the lines to feel the author's attitude and identify the tone. Tone is the author's own attitude toward the subject. An author's tone influences the story. Example: an author writes a horror story using a serious and sinister. An author writes a horror story using a serious and sinister tone. That tone helps create a scary atmosphere. So therefore, the tone would be considered scary. Another example: an author writes a satire, making fun of a horror story, using a playful or sarcastic tone. Okay, literary examples of authors' tones. So here's the first one. This would be serious or solemn. The girl remembered little from the raid at Oakenden in which she had been captured. She knew her parents had been killed. She had no idea what had happened to her brothers and sisters. Much of what she had experienced had been so horrible that she had simply shut it out of her mind. So here this author's serious tone inspires an atmosphere of tragedy. Okay, here's one that's sarcastic. "Just look at the Titanic," the captain said. "Even God can't sink this ship." Then, on the first voyage across the Atlantic Ocean, boom, it hit an iceberg and sank. And as soon as a daredevil utters the words "piece of cake" before attempting a stunt, he is doomed. Piece of cake becomes his famous last words. Okay, the author's sarcastic tone inspires a slightly humorous atmosphere in spite of tragedy. Okay, here we go with humorous. When he realized he was still in one piece, he knew that at the very least, he must be completely flat, with his face peering out of his own bottom and his brains leaking out of his ears. Here, this author's humorous tone inspires a comic atmosphere. Right? This one's objective or impersonal. By nightfall on Monday, the center of the storm had barely moved, and icy winds of hurricane force swept across an area from Virginia up to Nova Scotia, Canada. The wind was so powerful that in Liberty, New York, the local train station had its roof entirely ripped off. Okay? So this author's impersonal tone inspires a serious atmosphere, typical of nonfiction such as news reports. Next one's enthusiastic. The next minute, Winn-Dixie looked like a furry bullet shooting across the building, chasing that mouse. He was barking and his feet were skidding all over the polished picket quick floor, and people were clapping and hollering and pointing. They really went wild when Winn-Dixie actually caught the mouse. Okay, the author's enthusiastic tone inspires an active, lively atmosphere here. Okay, hostile and angry. Dana grinned malevolently. His teeth were nubby and yellow, like an old barn dog's. Kneeling on Roy's chest, he hauled back to hit him again. The author's angry tone inspires a violent atmosphere here. All right, this one would be a disapproving tone. We'd gone a quarter mile down the trail when we ran into a man walking the wrong way. He had a pack on his back, a full towering overstuffed backpack, and he was sweating hard. His breath sounded like it bellows. I stepped aside to let him pass. I stared. I knew that he was one of the ones who hadn't made it, who'd quit right there at the start. So here, this author's disapproving tone sets up a competitive atmosphere. Right? Personal. I feel alive for the first time in years, said Faber. I feel I'm doing what I should have done a lifetime ago. For a little while, I'm not afraid. Maybe it's because I'm doing the right thing at last. So this author's personal tone leads to an atmosphere of emotional expression and revelation. All right, this one would be a grieving tone. The title is corny. It sounds cliched, but at times like this, I miss my dad. I mean, I don't remember him. He died of cancer when I was 3. Pictures are all that's left. My favorite one is us sitting on a bench eating ice cream. Our knees are knobby the same way. We're both grinning like hyenas. He's pointing at the camera. I haven't had a dad in 12 years. Most of the time, that's okay. But today, right now, I'd like a hug from him. So, poets often bare their souls in their poems. This poet's grieving tone reveals her deepest feelings about her father, creating an atmosphere of sadness and longing. All right, indifferent. This would be an indifferent tone. Flicker. A maid cleans. A crew cuts the lawn. Even the groceries get delivered. Jordan's dad is home, for once, but he barely lifts his head from his laptop to meet me. His eyes flicker in surprise, but he slams his attention back to the screen and coughs to dismiss us. So this poet's indifferent tone creates an impersonal, possibly uncaring atmosphere. All right, here are some more examples of tone. So when you read, you might notice the tone could be cautious, humorous, affectionate, hostile, critical, objective, personal, violent, solemn, serious, which means solemn or serious, sarcastic, disapproving, enthusiastic, desperate, pleading, or maybe indifferent. All right. The next time you read a passage, try to identify the author's tone. It will help you get the message of the text.